Now that you've created your 5 folders where you're going to keep your work, it's time to put them up on the web. But before we do that, there's one more file that I want to show you and I want you to edit. And that file is the one over here called index.html. Now index is a very special name in the web world, and when you have a file that's called index.html, the server automatically serves that file to whoever is asking to go to a particular part of your site. You don't have to explicitly, or they don't have to explicitly say index.html. Now, this turns out to be a very useful thing because it's going to reduce the amount of typing your visitors are going to have to do. You can have one index.html file in every folder, and you can have as many of them as you want, as long as, to repeat, you only keep one inside any particular folder. And what will happen, just to repeat one more time, is that the server, if it doesn't find an explicit file name for it to load, will look for index.html and load that automatically. So it's a very convenient way of getting things done in a hurry. Now, the file that we've got here, I'm just going to open it up and you look at it in a browser, and there's really very little here. It's a plain vanilla page, and this is going to be your course home page. And what we want to do is change your name and email link here to your name and email link here. That is your real name and your real email link. So let me just close that. So now that you've seen what the file looks like in a browser, let's edit it in Dreamweaver. Now Dreamweaver usually wants you to work within a site, that is a collection of pages. And so I've been working on things before on this machine, and Dreamweaver is probably going to complain. You may not have that problem on the machine that you're using in the lab. So over here on my dock, I've located Dreamweaver, and I'm just going to click it and launch it. Now Dreamweaver is expecting a site that I previously worked on, but it can't find it, so nothing to worry about here. I'm just going to cancel it, and I'm going to, within Dreamweaver, I'm going to open this particular file. I'm going to go to my desktop and find my index.html file. So I've got it open up in Dreamweaver. Looks pretty much as it did in the browser. We won't worry too much about the details for now. What we're going to do is we're going to change this part of the page to something that's going to be meaningful to you. So I'm going to, first of all, select that text. I'm going to go to the Insert menu, and I'm going to choose Email Link. And you can see that the text that I selected shows up there, but I'm instead going to type my name. And I'm also going to type in the email field, I'm going to type my email address, which happens to be akeller@uvic.ca. Whenever possible, use your UVic account. I have my spam filter set on high, and if you use a UVic mail account, it'll always get through to me. So I'm going to click OK, and you can see that the name that was, or the text that was originally there, has been changed to my name, and I'm going to preview this in the browser. Now to preview in a browser, I go to the File menu, come down to Preview in the browser, and pick whatever one I want. And here we are, looking at my page in Chrome. And when I click it, it's going to launch my email program, and it's ready to go. So we won't worry again about the details, but that's how it's going to work. Inside the lab, your email program is not going to launch, and that has to do with the way they worked on security. So we've got our Dreamweaver page edited. This is going to be your course home page, and I'm just going to close it out here, and I'm going to make sure I've saved it. And I'm saving it, remember, as index.html. So we are now ready to move all our stuff up to the website. Now, in order to do that, we have to use what's called the File Transfer Protocol program, usually referred to as FTP. And there's a whole bunch of them, but the one we're going to be looking at is Fetch. And I'm just going to launch it on my machine, I'm just going to type use Spotlight, and you can look for it on your dock, but I've just launched it using Spotlight. Again, if you're familiar with Macs, you know how to do that. If you're not, don't worry about it. It'll be on your dock. And what we want to do is we want to go up to the machine that will be serving our pages. We got to get the stuff from our local machine, that is the one we're working on, or if we're working at home on our own hard drive, we want to get these 5 folders and the index.html up to the machine that is going to serve our pages to the world. And at UVic, and for this course, the host name is a machine called unix.uvic.ca. That's the machine where you're going to be sending the very files and folders and all the rest of that stuff that you want the world to see. And for your username, put in your Netlink ID. So I have one that's called PWTA, and I'm going to be asking Fetch to find that little portion off uvic.ca and put my files there. Be very careful to connect using SFTP. If you don't see it as the default, just hold the drop-down menu and you'll see other choices, but the one we want is SFTP, and that stands for Secure FTP. And if you don't use Secure FTP, the UVic system will probably reject your connection. For your password, just put it in. Again, this is your Netlink password, so you're using your Netlink ID and your Netlink password. Now, when you're working in the lab, do not, repeat, do not enable the box that says Add to Keychain, because that'll leave you vulnerable to somebody who happens to sit down at that machine and they just may find your password, and who knows what terrible things are going to happen. So hostname, unix.uvic.ca, username, your Netlink ID, connect using SFTP, and your password. And that's the same one you use to connect to your UVic mail. And we'll just click connect. Now, what's happened is we're now looking at your portion, or in this case, the PWTA portion of unix.uvic.ca, and you can see there's already some stuff in there, and you can ignore that. This is the housekeeping that the university system uses to keep track of your mail and all kinds of other little pieces of information. You'll also see something called www-dev, and that's a kind of sandbox too for practicing, and you may have occasion to use it, but most likely not. So the first thing we have to do is to create a special folder called www. And it's a peculiarity of this system and other systems that you'll find at other universities that files get served only from within a folder called www. You don't see it here, so we're going to create it. So in Fetch, we're going to go to the Remote menu, and we're going to select New Folder. And in the dialog that comes up, we're going to enter www in lowercase. If you recall, in the first video, I talked about the importance of using lowercase. And right now, if you use capital letters or some mixture of lowercase and caps, this would not work. So it's got to be www, all in lowercase. And we're going to click OK. And there's that folder, www, that's been created. If you double click on it and go inside, there's nothing there. And that's obvious, we've just created it. So what we want to do is select all our files and folders that we have on our desktop, and we're just going to drag them right into that folder. And just that quickly, you can see that they're all there. Now notice something very, very important. The files and folders on your desktop are still on your desktop. But there are now copies of those folders in that index.html file on your portion of the Unix UVic website. They all reside within the www folder. That means that when you put a file or a folder up on the server, it doesn't disappear from your hard drive. The copy that you've created in the past gets put up on the server. So you don't lose anything. Now, one other thing. Suppose I've got an A1 folder already on the server, and I've worked on a new version of it. I've made some changes, and I have it on my desktop again. When I drag the updated version of the A1 folder up to the web, it automatically replaces the A1 folder that's there. It won't ask you, are you sure you want me to overwrite this for you? It'll just do it. So what we're going to try to do is always have the latest version of our work up on the web. Now you'll probably have it somewhere else too. You may have it in the lab, you may have it on your own hard drive at home if that's where you're working. But we're going to always try to keep the latest version, the best version we have, up on the web. And so when you bring something from your hard drive to the web, if that folder, an earlier version of that folder exists, it's going to get overwritten.